Welcome to Night Shadows. I'm Stuart Best, where the paranormal is normal, where that which you thought you knew, you didn't, and where the future can be known if you know exactly where to look.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. And we got Larry on his mountaintop surveilling the world. And before we get going, I wanted to read, and Larry, I want a comment from you too on this one. This is an email we got, and it says, I'm assuming she's saying flowers and whatnot, are either turning yellow all over or burning from the top or south side. Rivers and creeks are drying up. I am in Indianapolis. Getting out in the sun is blistering, no matter what the temperature is. It has been hot in the 90s for weeks here. You and Larry are doing an excellent job. Thanks. And signed it. And what's your comment on that?
Well, I think she's very perceptive. She's just describing the very enigmatic and anomalous weather around her that is simply not a weather system moving through for a moment. She's describing apocalyptic weather, actually.
Yes.
And we've entered into that. We've entered into a troublesome time, and America can't wake up to even notice.
It's amazing. I mean, excuse me. When you really start looking at this stuff, and especially if you look at it all over the world, I don't see how anybody can say that it's pretty much normal, or even called the new normal. The new normal is rapidly expanding into the new normal, and this is going to keep going until basically civilization is destroyed. But it's, the Native American, one of the Native American prophecies, I don't know which tribe, talked about how the trees, and that is blacked out on it, so I'm not sure exactly what she's talking about, whether flowers or trees, because it doesn't say. But anyway, they said that the trees would start dying from the top down. And that is a phenomenon most likely connected to the sun and UV rating changes. And by the way, folks, the UV ratings are practically off the chart in the United States right now. Some are as high as like 13, 14, which is way, way off the charts. And with the new UV that's coming in, more and more dangerous. Anyway, where do we start, Larry, with this theater we're watching with Trump and Putin and the square dance they're having?
Well, I don't know. This is what's so interesting, Stuart, is they had a number of hours there in a summit together.
Yes.
And simply, nobody knows what was said except those
That's right.
that was in the summit. Then they come out and just have a short press conference, and America goes insane. I guess America went insane because Trump didn't declare war and fire missiles on Russia just immediately after he came out of the summit.
Yeah, I think maybe it's going to be the other way around. There's something going on, and you're absolutely right. Nobody knows what was said. Now, there is an article that's kind of funny, I thought, when I read it, but I'll read it here. I wanted to bring in Psalm 2, too. Donald Trump winks at Vladimir Putin, an extraordinary exchange during his high-stakes Helsinki summit. Now, this is interesting. Donald Trump, 72, which is a 27 in reverse, appeared, remember July 27th, appeared to give the Russian leader a wink as they sat to pose for photos. What do you make of that? Now, usually when somebody winks, they're, how do I word this? I'm sure as a police officer, if you were interviewing two people and they were winking at each other, you would fast come to the conclusion that it's baloney and you're just being put on, right?
Well, what's interesting about that, the situation, they don't know the lighting that Trump was facing at the time. They don't know how bright the light was. They don't know whether he had something in his eye, whether he had an allergy. I mean, these Trump haters come from the wild, extreme end of hell. They don't have a clue what's going on. How can you say somebody winks when they haven't told you they winked?
Yeah, this is all part of deep state. This is all part of Trump press, the hate press. Anyway, then you've got somebody like Brennan. I'm going down World, Drudge Report. Brennan, Trump press conference, an impeachable offense. Treacherous. What are the other leaders? I know you've been following this a lot more than I have recently. So, can you give us a briefing on what they're actually saying about all this?
Oh yeah, a lot of the other leaders are quiet, but it's the American Congress, it's the American left, it's the American Republicans, it's the American Democrats. It's our own government, and everything connected, Stuart, is corrupt from the top to the bottom. I mean, it doesn't take somebody with one eye and half sense to even see that anymore. It's very visible. The American people ought to figure that out. I saw something a while ago that was incredibly interesting, I thought. I saw the Putin interview, and I'm sure you saw that too. Did you see when what's his name that was interviewing him?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
I guess I'm not impressed enough from the interview to even tell the guy's name, but he handed Putin. He said, "Here's the indictments, the 13 indictments. These are the Mueller indictments. Now what do you say?" And I'm thinking, Stuart, what did he hand him? Hello? What is that evidence? Wait a minute now. Let's see. In America, if someone indicts you, you go in, you get fingerprint or what they call book, then you make bond, and then you get your attorney, and then later on you have a trial. But here we are. We're already, these Russian guys are guilty because the Intel Committee says they are, the same Intel Committee, and this is the group, the intelligence agencies. Stuart, these are the same people, FBI, DOJ. These are the same people that allowed Hillary to get away with everything she did, everything, and everyone that surrounded her was given a free pass. These are the same ones that said her computer was just a little carelessness. Stuart, we know better. These are the same people now that remember when the DNC, we got hacked. Oh, the Russians did it. Who has that server?
Yeah.
Number one, these are the same people, Stuart, that can't even collect their own evidence over the last few years in America to indict a sandwich. These are the same ones. And so these same ones, Stuart, come up and say, the Russians did it. Well, an indictment you hand somebody, Stuart, have you ever seen anybody in America be indicted that was immediately sent to prison because they were totally guilty? No.
No, in fact, indictments are very easy to get. They're just a rubber stamp of what the state or the government wants to do something. But when a lot of these things, when they go to trial, there's no evidence.
Well, I remember a guy that I moved up in Oklahoma and worked with. He was a sheriff's deputy, and I'm not putting him down, but, when I was taught how to do information and criminal offense reports, I had a section on the report that said physical evidence. And so what I did is I listed all my physical evidence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I laid it out. Well, this guy, what he wrote on there, he wrote all of it. In other words, Stuart, there wasn't any physical evidence. It just said all of it in that block, which meant nothing. He didn't have any. And so that's what we're looking at. Matter of fact, I saw Lou Dobbs a while ago. Somebody made an incredible comment, and here's what it was, Stuart. He said, everybody's gone nuts because, for one, they really don't know what the summit was about anyway. They don't know what was said. They're just dealing off the press conference only. And he said,
yes.
he said, number one, he said, you've got George Bush. He says, he listened to his intel agencies who told him about these, I guess, devices and weapons and all of that, in Iraq, and how the Iraq attacked us and all this kind of stuff. And so we go to full war. We take the whole world to war against Iraq. And what was the end of that? The intel agencies won't tell you anymore because they don't want to talk about it. So then you've got a president comes in named Donald Trump, and when the intel agencies tell him, this is Russia, and he says, well, wait a minute, let's look a little closer at this. And you know what come out of that a little bit of interview there? They said if George Bush had taken the stance Donald Trump did, we wouldn't have had that massive war that's still going on.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And the Bible's pretty clear about who's stirring up all the strife in the whole world, and it's not Russia. I am convinced that Putin has probably read Brzezinski's book on the encircling of Russia by NATO forces, and then to pounce on Russia when the time is right. And you can't tell me that Putin hasn't read that book and doesn't know what the doctrine of Brzezinski was. And for those who don't know, Zbigniew Brzezinski he was way, way high up in the Illuminati, very close to Kissinger as far as power. So, you can't tell me that Putin doesn't know that. And it is a fact that NATO continually expands, and they're right up on virtually his border. Well, now, if you were the president of a nation and you were responsible for its people, for its defense, and you've got all these people surrounding you with military bases, missiles, et cetera, and you have a doctrine of encirclement and then finally to pounce, what would you do as president of that nation? I'm not defending Putin. Obviously, he's evil, but what we're watching here is fallen humanity. We're watching why, I believe, the world has to go down. We're watching a square dance here. There are two kings maneuvering. And just like when he met China, two kings maneuvering. When he met with Kim of North Korea, two kings maneuvering. And we cannot forget God's agenda for humanity and the wars that are soon to come. So, actually, I think what we're watching is Psalm 2. It's very, very interesting how what is going on with the communists, the deep state, which is really what they are, they're just communists, is involved in the strife, division of group against group, of left against right, divide and conquer. It's worked before, they're doing it again. And so no matter what Trump does, no matter what his motives really are, no matter whether the Lord put him in power or didn't, doesn't really matter in the end, because the end result is the elimination of the United States first, before the other nations are eliminated. And I just find it very, very fascinating how the deep state, no matter what Trump does, no matter what he says or doesn't say, he's guilty. He's guilty of everything.
Yeah, what's interesting, Stuart, kind of like your opinion on this, is mainly you got to remember as Trump went into the summit, you remember what the most of Congress actually it doesn't even all have to be all the left, but all the left and the Democrats and some Republicans and the deep state were screaming, you can't meet with Putin. Remember, they didn't even want the meeting. In other words,
yes.
What they are telling Trump, we don't want the dance, we want the war. I mean, if you lay it out on a line, that's what's being said, I believe, is that the deep state says we don't want the dance, we want the war. We don't have the patience to wait for the dance. And they did not do this to Obama when hit 8 years standing up lying. He didn't dance. He just lied. And, you never heard them complain about Obama lying, did you? Matter of fact, I don't think anybody ever called him a liar, but one guy in Congress, and he got really hamstrung because of that and probably never lived it down. And he was the only one there that had the guts to say the right thing at the right time. And historically, he will literally be one day a hero, maybe in a book somewhere, but who cares? That's where we are. We're at the point, Stuart, where the world, the Psalm 2 war don't want to dance. Dancing might take away from the end result a little bit. It might take longer to get to the end result. And so instead of dancing, let's go to war. That's what they're screaming, Stuart.
Well, that's what Trump told the left one time not too long ago. He said, what do you want? Do you want a nuclear bomb going off on your front yard? Is that what you want? You want to be crawling through nuclear ruins? Is that what you want? He prefers peace over war. We know what the end result of that is, and we know he miscalculates character. He miscalculated Kim. He's probably going to miscalculate Putin from the biblical prophecies that we know about. We also know that deep state, CIA, NSA, Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, the big intel global network, knows how to frame anybody for anything. And I firmly believe that these, I remember Assange when he said the Russians never had anything to do with the release of these emails. And I remember Mueller indicted some other people, and they got laughed out of court by the judges, or the judge. You remember that? He indicted some Russian companies that didn't even exist.
Well, Putin actually brought that up today, Stuart. Putin said that those companies are ready to go to court in America. They already are prepared, yet the court won't take them there. And that's what's so interesting about this whole thing. We've watched Mueller and his great investigation of the Russia collusion with Trump, which has produced zero, and I repeat that, zero evidence. And all we have watched for a year and going into 2 years now is Mueller actually indicting people or getting people judged to some kind of sentence for little bitty, crimes that they've done years ago where they said something or they didn't dot an I or cross a T. I mean, what he's getting them for is nothing, absolutely nothing. That claims that they have done.
And you got rank treason on the part of Hillary Clinton, and she's out walking around free as a bird.
Sure, and guarded by the left and the Democrats.
Yeah. What we're watching, I believe, is the implosion of the United States. And this is going to lead to either Trump being impeached. In fact, this is probably the setup when he gets back. It wouldn't surprise me at all to see Congress get together and just eliminate Trump. The danger is going to be this. As long as Trump and Putin are talking, there won't be a war. However, if we get rid of Trump, if the nation decides to get rid of Trump, or he's assassinated in one way or another, I believe that then Putin would have little choice but to attack the United States. And you'll find that, folks, in Isaiah and Jeremiah, as well as the book of Revelation. It is Russia and our allies that attack the United States and take us out. it comes at a time when there is little thought of any such thing could happen, which is a little bothersome because where we are right now in the summertime. If you read Isaiah chapter 18, which I am personally convinced is the United States, and I'll get into that maybe a little bit later, but it appears that this attack comes totally unexpected at a time in midsummer, like July, August, early August. And when it hits, it's devastating. And it comes right after Isaiah chapter 17, which we may be looking down the barrel of. Deep State is now, what do you think, Larry? I think Deep State's in a lot of trouble. And this is why they're the insanity against Trump. But what choice do they have at this point? And if they can't get rid of him that way, why not a false flag? Why not institute something that starts the war? And once the war starts, it gets out of control.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I was going to bring up here something. I got a new book the other day someone had recommended called The Sharp Edge of the Sword. It's the testimonies and prophecies of a Major Tom Baird, retired. Now, he was a military officer, and he's actually been out of the military. He was involved in a lot of the setting up of the Internet, which really began as a black project and became a military operation because the Internet was supposed to, under web TV, et cetera, it was supposed to, be able to operate even in nuclear war. And so anyway, this guy wrote a book called The Sharp Edge of the Sword. I got it the other day, and I was looking through it real quick. And he had two experiences. And I'm not asking anybody to believe what he's saying, okay? I'm just saying this is what he says, which is really interesting for the time we're in. And two things that he says while he was in prayer in early January that he says that he was shown, and his name is Major Tom Baird, B-A-I-R-D. You can probably look him up, and Amazon carries his book. And he says he was shown that the deep state was in such trouble already that they were indicating that a way to get rid of Trump really it would be isolation and assassination. That's what he said. That's what he said he was shown. Again, I'm not telling people to believe it. Then on the other hand, he also had another supernatural experience where he said he was shown that when the deep state gets in such a incredible situation that they're losing power, that they have a couple of nuclear missiles set aside for a false flag that, we don't know who they'll say fired them, but they certainly won't say they fired them, but it'll be a false flag, Stuart, is what he says. Yeah. That's only what he says.
Well, I think that's the same thing with the emails. They can, the CIA and the others can make it look like they came from Russia. We already were told that in major media. They said that. Well, people forget all that kind of stuff. So this so-called indictment was to try and stop Trump from going over there in the first place because they do want their World War III, because out of the ashes of the phoenix bird rises the new world order. So they have to have their war, and I don't see any way around it. So they will do whatever is required to get this war. And if they think that détente has been reached between Trump and Putin, they're going to have to do something to totally derail that situation. And that could be North Korea, that could be, which is obviously run from China, and China and Russia are buddies. They can set the stage very easy. Like you were saying, they could launch a couple nukes and nuke a couple of our cities and claim it was from Russia or whoever. And it was Trump's fault. And so we have to get rid of Trump. I remember the movie Air Force One with Harrison Ford. I don't know if you remember that movie or not. But there's many ways that they can eliminate Donald Trump. And they're not above getting rid of anybody, and JFK is a good example of that. Reagan is another example. He's very, very lucky he lived. John F. Kennedy did not. And they're not above killing anybody. In fact, I think you'll find JFK's assassination in the Scripture. In Psalm 63, I think it is, in 64, they shoot it to perfect. They have no qualms about killing millions of people. In fact, to them, it's a satanic sacrifice. The more people they can harm, maim, kill, torture, the better they like it. They have no conscience. They only have an agenda. They are biological computers, is really what they are, with no mercy in their soul, no compassion, no nothing. They're essentially zombified, and they only have an agenda, and it's a hideous agenda. And you know, I was watching a movie, not a movie, but a documentary on YouTube, and it was about the takeover of the United States, and they interviewed a sheriff deputy who said, gee, you know, I really didn't like going around and collecting the firearms. You know, it was rough. And I thought to myself, well, then why did you do it? You're an American citizen. You're a sheriff. You know these local people. You did it anyway? What's the matter with you people in the sheriff departments and the police departments? You're going to turn on your own people because you got an order? That's exactly what the Nazis said at the Nuremberg trials. Well, I was just following orders. They told me to go do it. Yeah, I was uncomfortable, but I did it anyway. No, you stand up. Either you got the gonads to stand up and say no to this, or you're a part of it. And if you're part of it, I can guarantee you where you're going when you perish. You're going straight to eternal damnation, or you couldn't do it, because the Spirit of Christ would not ever allow you to do it. So when I hear that kind of crap, and that's what it is, from these people in the military and the sheriff departments and the police departments say that, I just get really irritated at it. You either stand up or you don't stand up at all. What?
Yeah. I was just going to mention, you said that our intel agencies have a ability to mimic Russian stuff, and I
yes,
just wanted to bring an incident that I had a couple of years ago, Stuart. I'd lost 2 computers, and a lot of it, I was getting a lot of what appeared to be Russian spam, and I'm not really, you know, on the high end of, you know, being knowledgeable in the internet and computer systems, but a friend of mine is very, very good at that, and I won't say his name, but anyway, he took the stuff I had coming in to attack my computers, and he had a way to track it back to where it came from. And guess what, Stuart? It wasn't Moscow. It wasn't even Russia at all. It was old Maryland, good old USA.
Yes, they do that, and they can put child porn on your computer. They can put any kind of thing they want on your computer, and they can claim you downloaded it yourself. And they've done that before, and then they go out and arrest people. I mean, you in a way, you cannot fight deep state. And I think that's why Jesus Christ says what he says. Who can make war with the beast? Well, the fact is, the normal person, humanity, the masses, cannot make war with this beast. They've taken all the time to do what they do. They've infiltrated every level of government, from local to federal to actually world government, UN. They've got it in the bag, and according to the Lord, they're gonna succeed. I was going to read part of Daniel chapter 7, but the fourth beast power of Daniel 7 is the United Nations. And we know that the United Nations, according to the book of Daniel, is the fourth and final beast power. And therefore, we know that Donald Trump did not want anything to do with the United Nations. You may remember his comments about the UN, and he's already extricated himself from one of their agencies. But Obama, on the other hand, is a UN globalist. And there was there's been several prophecies. I think you sent me one of them, that Obama's coming back into power. Can you give us the one you sent? I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but basically it was a lady, right, who said that it was Obama. He's coming back into power.
Yeah, Stuart, there's actually a couple of them. I found two back-to-back on Z3 News, and one of them is very interesting. It came out actually today, and its title says, "Beast is standing in the shadows, watching and waiting for opportunity to take control." And basically, what that was indicating was the fact that Obama was just waiting, and this individual said, "Well, I was even shown Obama." And then there was another one, a Z3 News report that said basically to beware of Obama, that the great threat, and he was dangerous and waiting. And so, you know, we're getting more and more. And if you'll remember, before Obama even left office, remember how he was so intrigued by the United Nations, and there was going to be a changeover of the Secretary General of the United Nations, and he was even vaguely interested at that time in possibly that position. And
yes.
I'm wondering if that intrigue is because possibly, you know, this is just, you know, me thinking, but I'm kind of wondering, is it possible that the UN, because of the U.S. Internal revolution or civil war or whatever that we get involved in that seems to be already ongoing in Washington, D.C., is it possible the UN steps in and would appoint an Obama?
Oh, absolutely. It would be possible. In fact, there are videos on YouTube showing literally hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of UN vehicles ready to go, military-type vehicles. If you read the UN Charter, I did a deal on this. It's called Unfriendly Fire, and that was more based upon, I guess you could call Agenda 2130/50 now, and their plan to take over the world. They're going to, according to Daniel the prophet, and it's going to be very bloody once they come to power. Obama hates Christians, number one. Some of the clergy over there, whatever you call them, clerics, I guess, in Iran have already said that they thought Obama was the Imam. He was going to be the world leader. And I never forget the dream I had where I was teaching Bible prophecy of all things, and he walks in, and I said, hey, he had a big smile. I'll never forget it. And he walked over to me, and I said, you know you're Lucifer, don't you? A question. And he said, yes, I know. Big smile, and I woke up. And other Christians have had visions of him being the lawless one. And everybody says, oh, there's no way Obama can come to power. You guys are crazy. You're nuts. You're off-the-wall lunatics. That could never, never happen. Don't ever say never when it comes to this kind of thing. God has, if he has anointed Obama to do this, Obama's coming back into power. If he hasn't, he won't. But so we can speculate on it. But there's a lot of rhetoric out there, and he definitely, what is he, a couple blocks from the White House running the affairs behind the scenes?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's running, basically a destroy Trump campaign just down the street from the White House, and Valerie Jarrett's living there running it for him while he's hiding in the wings and the shadows and doing his thing and going worldwide on his little tours, following Trump around, trying to subvert everything Trump's doing. And you're right on that. I even seen some reports recently that people claim they've been showed that Obama literally is the Mahdi, as they call it. Remember, we're watching for this, the mullahs or the Iranian leadership believes that there has to be a catastrophic war so the Mahdi can appear, and there's so many now that are saying they believe they've been shown that Obama is the Mahdi. It's just waiting. It's incredible, Stuart. It's absolutely incredible.
And I think that war
Stuart,
is not very, very far off. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you a question because this is a deep thought question. But, you know, you watched the press conference today and America went insane, and you've watched all day. I know you've caught captions of the craziness that's being spoken and to get rid of Trump that's being aired across America, even before he gets back to America. Stuart, do you think, you know, because on the side, you know, the Republicans, Trump supporters almost, you talk about, as a matter of fact, I saw a lot of Trump supporters seem to get on the other side today because, you know, I don't know why. But what I'm wondering, Stuart, do you think that this silence of the American people, or those that we thought were free thinkers or people that could think, you know, some people we said really possibly wasn't stupid. You know, we caught a lot of heat for that. But do you think, Stuart, that the American people are so far out of it and drank so much denial tea that they'll never come back, they'll never care? Or do you think possibly, Stuart, that this delusion, or almost like illusion, if you will, is so great? Art Bell was right. They just simply can't get up off of their couch ever.
I go both ways on it. Sometimes I think, the American people have a line in the sand, and when it gets crossed, they'll do something, and then I wake up the next morning and I say, I don't. Doesn't matter what government does; they're just not going to do anything at all. And I don't think they will. Actually, I think they have been dumbed down, if you will, to the point where they're going to acquiesce. I mean, look at TSA. There's a good example of the acquiescence of the American people. They would allow their women to have their vaginas checked by some stupid TSA agent in order to get on an airplane. They'll allow their women to be felt up to get on an airplane. The men allow themselves to be felt up to get on an airplane. Do you know what's really going on? It's a dehumanization of the people. It's taking away their pride. It's taking away everything that makes them humans. And the deep state, the communists, know exactly what they're doing. And they have proven, I believe, through TSA and the amount of people that actually fly on airplanes that'll actually go on board and allow that to happen, or even take the risk that it's going to happen. And when a few of them do stand up and say, "You don't touch me like that," they get arrested immediately. This whole thing on TSA could be immediately stopped by the American people saying, you know what, we're going to cease doing anything for a couple of weeks. We're not going to fly. Why, the airline executives would be screaming at Washington, you stop this now. And it would stop because it's all based on money. And they are slowly eroding humanity, bit by bit. This is what the communists do. I've got a whole list here. I want to read just a little bit of it. It's amazing what is actually going on. Now, this is the manifesto, or part of it. This is, I produced a book a long time ago called The Book of Documents. And I went to I got documents out of Washington and everywhere else, put it together. Okay, abolition of ordered and nationalistic governments. Is that going on? Abolition of all private property. What do you think Agenda 21 and 20 and 30 and 50 is all about? Abolition of all inheritance rights. Abolition of patriotism, of national causes. The abolition of social order of families. The abolition, ultimately, of marriage, which is biblical. It's in prophecy that they're going to stop marriage. The abolition of all sexual codes of conduct or laws. The abolition of all moral or ethical codes. That's what they're doing in TSA. There's no moral code there. Oh, we can feel you up. You want to fly an airplane, you get felt up. You don't like it, we'll put you in prison or don't fly. And TSA is now moving into the railroad stations, and pretty soon they're going to be on the interstate highways. The American people are sound asleep. They're in denial. Like you said, they're in denial tea. They've been drinking too much of it. You cannot save it. There's absolutely no question in my mind that America is going down. I've been arguing that for about 20 years. America, you have no hope whatever. You put your hope in Donald Trump, but you never put your hope in Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ is the only one that can save you out of this. And 99% of the Christians are probably not going to. I mean, all you got to do is look at Matthew chapter 7 and read what Jesus says about them. I never knew you. Get away from me. And that's to the multitudes. So there's something very, very wrong going on. And then you got pastors in these churches who have been indoctrinated by Homeland Security to go into the FEMA camps and kind of comfort the wives who have been split off from their children and the dads who have been split off from their wives and their children. Oh, just go in and comfort them. And Homeland Security said, you know, we got to teach the American people to acquiesce. Romans, you know, obey the government. It doesn't really say that. So here we are. And, yeah, we're going down, Larry. There's no question we're going down. Now, what Trump is doing in Psalm 2, I have no idea, really. I do believe in Psalm 2, and I don't see any exceptions to the rule. There's no exception of Putin or Trump, or it says that they're all in this together. Now, they may not consciously know they're all in it together. I'm not saying they're consciously doing it, because there's a conspiratorial thing about this agenda of Satan's. And some obviously know what they're doing, but I think a lot of them don't. And this conspiratorial concept is above them. It's not a conscious thing. And, you know, the Illuminati make this all look like, well, it's just an event that happens. But when you look at the time schedule we're on, and you look at what's going on over there in Israel, and how the Syrian army is now pushing how many refugees? 45,000, I think I read.
Yeah, 45 to 50,000, last I heard.
And they're going to be used as what, kind of a shield for the Syrian army?
A buffer between the Syrians and the Israelis.
We got to go to war. And so whatever deep state does to bring the war about, they're going to do. And they're going to have to do it fairly rapidly. We're running out of, well, not necessarily. I mean, the Lord could delay it another 20 years if he wants to. But I don't think he's going to. I think we're either heading into something that's really going to be done by December 31st, 2018, all done as far as the church, as far as the war, the Isaiah 17 war. I think that's coming up fairly rapidly. 9th of Av is on the 21st. That's only a few days away now. And who knows what they're going to do next? Hopefully nothing. Hopefully July 27th slides on by and absolutely nothing occurs. But I'm not convinced yet. I will be afterwards if nothing happens. But there's too many things that are going into this thing with the time schedule. The early church was taught 6,000 years. We're at it. As it was in the days of Noah, 120 years the Lord gave Noah before the flood. As it was, so shall it be, 120 years. The Jewish Congress in 1897, 120 years, 2017. The 70 years of Israel, the 50-year Jubilee of Israel since 1967. All of this is coming together. At the same time, we're having all these war rhetoric. What do you think? I mean, I just think we're possibly there.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Matter of fact, on Standale's site today, they posted a prediction by a Russian professor made a number of years ago, and he predicted the breakup of the United States, and he thought it would actually begin with a civil war in the spring of 2010. But of course, there apparently was a delay, and then there's Trump in the middle, and but it goes along, Stuart. So many, I know of a scientist in Russia, a general, I believe it was out of Russia. Now you got a professor out of Russia, plus numerous other people that have predicted this civil war. Anton Johansson, over 100 years ago, predicted a civil war. Said Jesus showed it to him, where America would break up in 2 or 3 or 4 nation states. And as a matter of fact, I challenge people to go on Dale's website and look at the map. Look at the map that this Russian professor drew. And all of this is seemed to be coming about as we seem to be going into a civil war situation. What do you think, Stuart? I'm reminded of, you remember the Christian woman that went to China, wasn't it? And the Chinese, after the purge, said that all the Christians thought that nothing was going to happen to them, and told her to go to America and warn America. Yeah, I can't remember her name right this minute, but I remember reading her book one time years ago, and she tried to warn America, don't think you're exempt.
Oh, they've made it very, very clear. Homeland Security, FEMA, fusion centers, they've all released statements. FBI released one. I can't remember what they called it now, but it was clearly a shot across the bow to the Christians. They do not like Christians who believe in the Bible prophecy, obviously, because it identifies who the governments are, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, they're going to come after us. The atmosphere right now is ripe for it. Now, let's say Trump comes home and the war in Israel begins, and it's a short war. There was a lady who made a prophecy long ago, and some pastor had heard about it, so we went to interview her. And he wrote down what she said, and he said, you know what, I thought it was all gibberish. I couldn't believe anything she was saying, but I wrote it down. So anyway, put it away for I don't know how many years, and ran across it and read it, and he said, oh, my Lord, everything she said has come to pass. Everything she said has come to pass, that the Lord had shown her that. And guess what it was? That the rapture of the bride of Christ, or the church, was going to be taken just before World War III broke out. Just before it. And then all hell breaks loose. And you may remember David Wilkinson said he was shown that the church would be removed as the missiles were coming in on America.
Uh-huh.
And the strike on America, according to biblical prophecy, comes at a time when no one would expect it at all. Like a time like right now. Oh, they're bringing peace. Well, who knows what deep state has in mind? You really just don't know. So it's kind of like right now we have a heads up. You can't prove it has anything to do with the rapture of the bride or the church, but you can certainly say things aren't exactly right now, particularly in the Middle East. And remember Albert Pike in the Third World War. It starts between Islam and the Jews in Israel. That's where he said it was going to start. That's where it was going to begin. And this war was to pit Christendom, basically, and Orthodox Judaism against basically atheism. And out of that would come the New World Order, or Luciferianism. That's what they've got planned. So it's right on schedule, as far as I can see, for the timing of it. This little skirmish with 200 missiles, I think, was just the beginning. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, it appears that Iran is pulling the strings all around Israel at the moment, and there are reports, scattered reports, that Israel basically supported by Saudi Arabia and Trump. I'm not even going to say the U.S., okay? I'm just going to say supported by Trump. Is going to strike Iran possibly very soon. And so we've got to watch for that. We don't know whether, as you said before, the timing is critical. Here we are coming up on the 21st and the 27th of this month in July. But at the same time, we can't tell whether Daniel 8 or Isaiah 17 might occur first or one day and the other the next. I mean, this is very close to what's happening at the moment. And, of course, we've got our smoke screen in America. Everybody's just went insane over Trumpism, and, we're not watching.
Well, I think when the Lord says that the rapture of the bride or the church takes place, it's sudden and it's without notice. There is absolutely no indication. It's like any other day. You wake up, you go to work, drink your coffee, who knows, bang, it's over. And we're told that we don't really know, absolutely. But you remember Noah knew the year when Methuselah died. And then he knew the week because the Lord gave him a 7-day notice. And then he knew the day because the Lord shut him in and says, Noah, you better get on that boat because I'm going to shut the door on you. So you better be inside rather than outside. And I think, Jesus said, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be. Now, we don't know how far that carries. But if it does carry out to that point, then the bride of Christ, those who are really watching, are going to know that this is really close at hand. And it just makes you wonder. I mean, we could have a 10-year delay. We could have another 20-year delay. Nobody knows really, and if they say they do, they're just speculating. But I believe what Trump has done is going to cause much more division in the United States and possibly will lead to a revolution. Because if they try to impeach Trump and take to the streets, maybe the Trump supporters will reach for their guns and that'll be the end of it. Martial law will come in almost instantly. And if Obama is the one who's waiting in the wings, he hates Christians. He hates the United States. He would rip it apart gleefully. And he would imprison all those who believed in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we know that the military has been training for martial law now for a number of years. The Rex 84 concepts, Garden Plot, all those were martial law takeover and imprisoning of American people. And I was just watching a YouTube documentary, and they were showing all of the things that are going on right under the nose of the American people, and nobody's saying a word about it. So they're practicing for the takeover of the United States, and I warned about that many, many years ago when I did the Covenant documentary, when I did Iron Mountain Blueprint for Tyranny. And that was, 25 years ago I produced that. It's just as current today as, in fact, it's today's headlines. And yet for all that, people don't seem to have a clue as to what's going on around them. I was watching a YouTube of a lady who went to a UN meeting and was told about all these so-called immigrants, refugees, all men of fighting age, military types, being spread throughout the United States in little towns, and they do it at night so nobody sees them. She was told. The UN is a betrayer of humanity. The United Nations is a hideous, satanic, evil organization, but it's going to win momentarily. And then the people who are a part of this, I don't care who they are, military, police, whatever, are going to wish they'd never been born. because then the mask is going to be ripped off, and the reality of Jesus Christ and what is really going on up in the heavens is going to be revealed to them, and it's going to be too late. And in hell they go. And a lot of people don't even believe that hell exists. I saw just a little bit of it. And if what I saw was broadcast to the heavens around the world, there would be full repentance of every human being on this planet, no matter who they were. And that's where they're going. They're going there. And like Daniel the prophet says, the wicked will never understand. You can show them 100, 200, 300 verses of Scripture that condemns them, and they'll just poo-poo it. And there's nothing you can do about it, because evidently this is the agenda, and the Lord has made his agenda very, very clear. Psalm 2 is very, very clear that God intends to put Jesus Christ on the mountain. Why do the heathen rage? And the people imagine a vain thing. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed. Let us break their bands asunder, cast away their cords from us. And he that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh, and the Lord shall have them in derision, and he shall speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. That's Daniel's 70th week, and I think we're coming right up on it myself. Hopefully not. I would love to be wrong. What do you think? Closing remarks.
Well, I think we're in an incredible time. Do we have time for me to give another Barry Rothman code?
Yeah. Yep, I think we have 4 minutes or something like that.
Okay. Anyway, he got up a new code. He put it up today, and it's very interesting. And because of Tithonia that you researched, this is rather telling. Listen to this. He also mentions the movie, and you remember that, Mission to Mars, remember?
Oh, yes.
That movie? Okay, listen to what he says here. It says it's entitled Martian Global Dust Storms and Microorganisms by Barry Rothman, and it's got 5 connections here in the matrix. Let me read them to you and let you get your comment, because he talks about the movie Mission to Mars. Number 1, dust storm. Number 2 is the phrase, your seed like the dust of the earth. Number 3, Mars. Number 4, life. Number 5, intelligence. What do you think, Stuart?
Well, yeah, there's intelligent life up there. We know that, and now it's getting confirmed. When I was doing the research on Tithonia and that place we found there, it's amazing. And now these people that are going on these deep space missions are beginning to get their memory back, and what they're saying is pretty much what we found on Tithonia and you saw in visions. And Trump is kind of revealing the space fleet. It was on a major news network about this new space fleet, which is not new, it's old, he's just revealing it. And all at the same time that Mars is going to be at its closest point on July 27th, the date of the full blood moon over Israel and Jerusalem. We're being told something. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely, Stuart. And I'll just tell people as we're going into this and Trump's returning to the country, keep that seatbelt fastened.
Oh, boy. Yeah, and by the way, we're going to have Barry on Wednesday to talk about some of these things. And the Bible codes. A Bible code and the mathematics of the Bible absolutely prove that the Bible is not the work of men. It is the work of a supernatural power with intelligence so vast that the human mind cannot even wrap around it. I'd like to get into that sometime. The mathematics and the continuity of the mathematics from Genesis all the way through to the book of Revelation. Anyway, thanks a lot, Larry, for coming on. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll keep you posted on an emergency update if one occurs. But watch Washington and watch Trump. It's all going to be very telling. Good night, everyone.